Hello and welcome to Courage to Overcome. In this podcast, I talk about emotionally destructive people and relationships. I also upload motivational and inspirational content. So if you're interested in that kind of content, please follow or subscribe. Today, I want to talk about how I almost broke the law because of flying monkeys and narcissistic abuse. So first of all, let me just talk about what flying monkeys are. Now, flying monkeys is a popular term. Flying monkeys is a popular psychological term which is used to describe people who the narcissist uses to do his dirty work. So the term was taken from the film The Wizard of Oz, in which there were flying monkeys sent to do the evil bidding of the evil witch. Flying monkeys are used by the narcissist to gather information for him in order to use against his victim or just to have one up on them. Flying monkeys can be anyone, including colleagues, friends, family members, and children. Yes, narcissists will all use their own children. They have no shame as long as it gets them what they want. Narcissists are masters at manipulating and exploiting others for their own gain. They are very crafty and experts at reading and discerning people's weaknesses and vulnerabilities. They can assess and instinctively know their targets, those who will believe their lies. I guess it's because they have learnt to do this throughout their lives, so they've had years and years of practice. In most cases, flying monkeys do not realize they are being manipulated by the narcissist, and they are given the impression by the narcissist that they are the victims in the situation and that their partner is the abuser, when in actual fact it is the other way around. So how do they operate? So let me just give an example. David is separated from his wife, Judy and his children, and he doesn't know their whereabouts. Okay, so David is the narcissist, right? So he contacts Mabel, a friend of Judy, to find out information. So David gives the impression that he's concerned about his children and will covertly imply that he believes they are being neglected. David says Judy's a great mother, but she has some mental issues or struggling with substance abuse or alcohol issues, or etc. It's always something negative to spark concern and action from the friend. Mabel or the flying monkey will be appreciative of his concern and will assure David that she will investigate the matter. David will insist that Mabel does not let Judy know he is in contact with her because, of course, she will not be forthcoming with any information. Mabel, believing that she's helping, has actually been influenced and manipulated by David, the narcissist, to get information that he would not have been able to get on his own. So Mabel is the flying monkey. Flying monkeys can be described as enablers because they enable and empower the narcissist to continue their toxic behavior. With regards to my own situation, the enablers in my case were my children, and they were extremely manipulated by my husband at the time. He would tell them lies about me and they would believe it. After all, why would their father be lying about me? He loves me, right? I denied everything, but my children didn't believe me. He successfully turned my children against me and used them to spy on me. Narcissists are pathological liars, very convincing liars. That is something my husband would do a lot. He would just lie and lie and lie. And that was what works for him all the time. And why would he want to change when he can get whatever he wants just by lying? My children were enablers in the sense that they were accepting his behavior. He bought them their first cars, anything they asked he would give. So it was difficult for my husband to convince them of his lies. It was not difficult for my husband to convince them of his lies. I don't really blame them though, because it was difficult to stand up to him. Besides, he had bought them all their cars, and in a sense, he had bought their loyalty and silence. For somebody who has not had any experience with narcissism, it may be difficult to believe all this. You might ask the question, well, it can't be all his fault. You must take some of the blame also. Well, I will say this. I do have my faults. I think as humans, we are not perfect at all. And I certainly don't claim to be. But I try to be a good person, treat others fairly, as the Bible says we should. But when your behavior affects lives, causes divisions, disunity, mistrust in the home, conflict, chaos, mental anguish, low self-esteem, low self-worth, that is unacceptable. My husband, well, my ex-husband is my ex-husband now. He would send my youngest daughter to spy on me to find out what I was doing and then report back to him. She would feed him information on what I was doing in my room, which was where I spent a lot of my time when I wasn't at work. I felt like everyone hated me. The narcissist's goal is to isolate his victim or target and turn everyone close against them. With no one to turn to for help, this can cause the victim or the target to descend into a depression. And that was what happened to me. I was isolated and depressed in my own home. The only person I could speak to was my mother, who called me continuously to make sure I was okay, and my youngest daughter as well. I had to be careful what I told her because he would ask her and she would tell him, and I was alone and depressed. He even manipulated one of my daughters to obtain a document, a particular form, to fill in the form and submit it on my behalf without my permission or without me even knowing anything about it. It was only later on when I received a call from a particular department saying that somebody had called to ask for a particular form and that wasn't me. I said, no, that wasn't me at all. Yeah, I mean, they're very devious. They're very manipulative people, and they will do all sorts of things to get their way. And it got so bad for me personally because I was so isolated and depressed. I was in the midst. I felt like I was in a house in the midst of my enemies. There was no one there for me. And it got to a point where one day I just had to leave the house and go for a walk to clear my head. And I went into a shop and my mind was just racing. My mind was just completely racing. I was just not in the right state of mind. I went into a shop, picked up an item in the shop. I didn't even know what I was doing. I picked up this item in the shop. Instead of going to the cashier desk or the checkout to pay for it, I started walking towards the exit because I wasn't even thinking straight. And I almost went out of with the item in my hand, which I hadn't paid for. I almost left the shop and I just stopped on time. And I looked back and I could see that the checkout guy was going to press the bell to call somebody in from the back office because he had observed me almost going out of the shop with the item that I hadn't paid for. And so I came to my senses before, thank goodness for that. I came to my senses quickly and realized that I hadn't paid for it. And I went back and I put it back on the shelf where I took it from. And I just fled the shop. That was how I almost broke the law. I almost could have been held for shoplifting on that day. All because of the narcissistic abuse that I was going through. And the fact that mentally I was just not there. And so that's how I almost broke the law. For some people, the flying monkeys could be your colleagues at work and the narcissist your manager or boss. Your manager would feed them some negative information that is not true about you, and your colleagues would then avoid you or give snide remarks, or they would report back to the narcissist anything negative you say about him or her. Narcissists love to create conflict. It makes them feel powerful and in control, and the workplace is just the right atmosphere for them. So how do you overcome this kind of abuse? So first thing to do is to set boundaries. You cannot fight them with their own tactics. You will lose miserably. They are masters of that game. Remember, they are pathological liars and masters of the art of deception. So me personally, I decided to set boundaries to protect myself from this emotional abuse because it was beginning to mentally affect me. I let him know that I will not discuss with him and the children any issues that needed to be sorted between ourselves. And if we both can't resolve any issues we have, we will ask our parents or a trusted third party to intervene, not the children. I set boundaries with other toxic behaviors that I would not accept or tolerate. The Bible says you should guard your heart with all diligence. And so I found that this helped to work for me. Oh, by the way, my children are adults. They were all, except for the youngest, all of them were over 18 in their mid-20s. So the next thing is also no contact. What you can do if you believe that your narcissist is employing flying monkeys against you is don't give them any information about yourself or what you're doing. Also, especially if you're separated from the narcissist, have no contact with the narcissist and anyone you believe is helping him. And the next one is have a good prayer life. It's very easy to become bitter with people because of the way that you've been treated. But bitterness does not help your situation. It will only hurt you spiritually because you are internalizing everything, and it can actually make you sick, to be honest. And so you have to let bitterness, anger, resentment go because it will only make you sick. There are many people in the hospital or psych ward because of bitterness, anger, and resentment, which can lead to depression. The Bible says, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. Pray for healing for yourself and for yourself and the children and the home as well. And just remember also, the Bible says, God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, you will reap. And that has been the situation in my case. It may take some time. And it may take some time to happen. People normally call it karma. But my situation has turned completely around now. Because now my children's eyes have been opened. And now they have seen their father's lies, the deception, the manipulation. Everything. They've seen it all now. So it's all a complete turnaround now. Because now, initially they were on his side. Now all of them, all my children are on my side now. Because now they've seen his behavior. And so now he's even been accusing me, that I'm the one that have turned the children against him. And for me, I just laugh at it because at the end of the day, that was what he was doing to me. But he sowed, that's what he sowed. He sowed evil, and now he's receiving evil. Because now they know who he is, who he really is. And they're the ones who even call him a narcissist now. So the whole thing is really turned around in my favor. After everything that I've been through, everything has turned around in my favor. Everybody has seen him for who he is. His friends, his family, my children, they all see him for who he is now. So just leave it in the hands of God. Keep yourself safe. Your situation will turn around. People are going to see the narcissist for who he is because he is going to show himself for who he is to everybody. Like it happened in my case. So, I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Please like, follow, subscribe, and I'll meet with you again in my next episode. Take care and God bless.